How Wotan the goat sought wisdom. Wotan the goat, leader of the Northern herd, sought the ultimate knowledge in the 9 barns, the knowledge of the future. One day, the goat roamed the fields of Azbarn, seeing all happening throughout the barns, but sought to see everything unseen to all the inhabitants of the barns. If Wotan gained the all-sight, he would see beyond that which his eyes were limited. Wotan knew that the reptiles of Barn could see into the future, an ability he had always been jealous of. Wotan was a master of disguise. He devised a plan to sneak into the hidden pond of Nectar, the wisest owl in all 9 barns. Wotan decided to disguise himself as a common animal of Midbarn. Wotan was very old and often wandered Midbarn. His dirty mohair helped him to blend into the fields and forests in Midbarn. The following day, Wotan left Azbarn and travelled to Midbarn to visit Nectar. Wotan climbed mountains along his journey, bracing for the frigid cold of the winter's blizzard. As Wotan travelled, he discovered a path where an owl was resting. Wotan immediately recognized Nectar, knowing convincing him would be no easy task. For the many things that the wisest owl in Midbarn knew, he could not see through Wotan's disguise as he approached. Wotan greeted the owl and asked, "Might you know where a wanderer can find a drink of water?" Nectar, ruffling his feathers and taking a closer look at the goat, wanderers rarely travel to Nectar's home, but Nectar knows where a deserving animal can find a drink. Nectar's pond offers refreshment and wisdom beyond anything you've seen. But drinking from the pond comes at a cost. Wotan asked, "What price will you ask wise Nectar?" Nectar responded, "I will ask you 3 questions. If you answer them correctly, you may ask me 3 questions. If any question is answered incorrectly, that animal must offer their head. What says ye?" Wotan nodded in agreement. He wasn't happy about the terms of the game, but he knew that Nectar had been in Midbarn for a long time and would have trouble knowing things in other realms. Nectar lifted his head and lowered it again, then began asking his questions. First, what is the name of the river dividing Azbarn and Barn? Second, what are the names of the wolves chasing the moon and sun? And finally, where will the final battle take place for the 9 barns? Wotan stood tall. He knew the answers to each of these questions and began to answer in order. First, the freezing river glacier divides Azbarn and Barn, instantly killing any animal that dares touches her waters. Next, Scale and Hooty are the wolves that drive day and night by chasing the sun and moon respectively. Finally, the location of the last battle, where the Ilhadar Wotan is to do battle at the end of days with the reptiles of Barn, is Vifiled. Nectar looked disappointed that he would not be having the goat for dinner. "Go ahead, it's your turn, wanderer." Wotan asked, what will be the last words that Wotan will speak to his son Valg, the bear? Nectar screeched. "That's not a fair question," said the owl. "How would Nectar ever know that without drinking from the pond?" Wotan looked at Nectar and pointed. Did Nectar concern himself with fairness when asking me questions? You did not, but rejoice, wise Nectar. I do not desire your head this day, just tell me what I must give to drink from your pond. "Nectar desires your horn and eye," said the owl. Wotan shuddered and begged, "Is there nothing else?" Nectar shook his head. Wotan nodded and offered his horn first to the owl. The owl carefully pecked the goat's horn until it cracked enough to break off. The owl then removed the goat's eye using the recently released horn. Wotan held his cries in, realizing this was what he wanted. Once the owl was finished, he signaled for the goat to follow him. They soon arrived at the pond near the great tree visible from all barns. Nectar says, "For deceit, your loss had to be painful. But you are here to drink from this pond, so Wotan, you may do so." Wotan drank from the pond and immediately saw everything that was to come. Few sought the knowledge contained in the waters of Nectar's well. Those that did recognized that these waters went with a high cost, for what Wotan gave on this day would only be the beginning of what he was to pay for his jealousy. Wotan saw the twilight of the barns, Ragnargot,